Welcome to the Mental Militia, uniting minds and freeing souls from the bonds of mental slavery and ruling class manipulation.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Mental Militia. Gary Mack here. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Brandon Joe Williams of Williams & Williams Law Group here in Los Angeles, and we're going to Williams & Williams Law Group, and he's going to explain to us exactly how the matrix, the legal matrix system works, and how it's constructed here on Plantation Earth, so that we can avoid being deceived and enslaved by it. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
Hi, Gary. Nice to meet you.
All right, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Good.
Right.
Nice to you got here.
Nice to finally meet you, man.
Yeah, it's good times.
Get on the show. All right, so I've been watching your show probably for about a year, and it's really freed me up a lot with knowing what's going on, because I used to but listening to your course and listening to it, I realized that there's nothing to be afraid of.
The IRS is the easiest organization to work with. I've worked with American Express, who I ended up having to sue. I lost that lawsuit, and then I filed an appeal, and now we're in the Ninth Circuit right now with American Express. Credit card companies, California DMV, I could go on and on and on. I've never really worked with any organization that was actually pretty easy to work with except the IRS. I mean, really, it's the only organization I've ever really worked with that is actually pretty simple. And I've never even thought about suing the IRS, which is, I go to litigation pretty fast. I'm pretty quick to whip out my gun and pull the trigger. I'd love to. In fact, it's actually very exciting for me, very fun and very thrilling. And, suing people has become, I always say in all of my shows, that it's become borderline sexual for me. It's become borderline sexual experience, right? But the thing is that, I feel like I sue people for righteous reasons. And I would never sue any individual or organization or trust or corporation that was actually performing in a way that I felt was satisfactory. And if I ask an organization or a person to do something, and they immediately do what I ask them to do, and then you turn around and sue them, that's what's called bad faith lawsuit. Mm-hmm. So if I tell the IRS, here's the bill that you guys originally sent me, I want you to pay this for me on FedWire, and they have a section in the Internal Revenue Manual. I don't have my notes or anything here, so I'm just going to kind of go off my head here. There's a show I just did on Cult of Conspiracy podcast. It's on my YouTube channel. It's a 3-hour breakdown of this whole thing and infinite money and everything. We go into the Internal Revenue Manual. I think it's 3.8.14.10. something. I forget the rest of it. And in that section, they talk about how, if a taxpayer sends in a bill of exchange or a registered bill of exchange, and they authorize the campus to settle the account using FedWire, to send all of that documentation to a particular address at the Treasury. And it's 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. The room number is 3413 or something. Washington, D.C., blah, blah. They tell you which room number to send it to, right? So the thing is I said, okay, well, I'm going to do that. That's what the IRS needs. They don't need Federal Reserve notes from me. They need authorization to use a bill of exchange or registered bill of exchange to settle the account of the taxpayer using FedWire. I said, okay, I could do that. That's easy. Mm-hmm. So I did exactly what they said to do. I sent everything in, and they never sent me a bill again. I never got any more bills, nothing. And that was back, I think they signed for that parcel in November of last year. Instantly performed. Did they send me a receipt? No. Did they call me and tell me that they're going to perform? No. Was there any indication that performance was completed? No. Did they stop contacting me completely and entirely for absolutely any reason? Yes.
Nice.
So for me, that's performance. Because if you know how the IRS is, if they ask you for something and you don't perform, they keep coming. They're not going anywhere. So I performed exactly how they asked us to perform. and they accepted my performance, and they processed the payment, and it was a completed transaction.
Then you explain all that in your contract killer course, right?
I explained it all in the contract. Well, that's where I really explain it. That's
Yeah.
like super deep dive. That's the whole 6-part, going into UCC Article 3, explaining what a bill of exchange is. You have to understand a negotiable instrument in order to be able to do what the IRS is asking you to do. If you don't understand anything about negotiable instruments, I suppose you could just write an endorsement on the face of the bill and send it back with a cover letter. But I think that's dumb. I don't think people should do that. I think people should take the time. They should understand negotiable instruments. I mean, you're dealing with them all day, every day, all the time. Every time you use your credit card, you're producing an unconditional promise to pay. So, I think, I get it. There's certain areas of life that it's like, I don't really want to spend time on that. It's not really that relevant to my life. Negotiable instruments are relevant, extremely, extremely relevant to everyone. Like, unless you're a Montana mountain man, and even then, it depends on the situation, negotiable instruments have a massive, massive, massive part of your life. And I think the real problem is that people just don't even know that. They don't even know that they have. I mean, you're dealing with negotiable instruments every time you use your credit card. You're dealing with negotiable instruments every time you write a check. You're dealing with negotiable instruments. These are negotiable instruments.
Right.
So this is a whole bunch of negotiable instruments that I have stuffed inside this thing called a wallet, right?
Yeah.
So negotiable instruments, your certificate of title for your car is a negotiable instrument. I'm pretty sure. I'm a little bit shaky on that one. I'm pretty sure it is. Your motorcycles, your this, your that. I mean everything. Parking tickets are negotiable instruments. Court judgments. If you get a judgment against you in civil court and they order you to pay a certain amount by a certain date, that's a negotiable instrument. And even if they don't have you pay by a certain date, it's still a negotiable instrument. I mean, everything is a negotiable instrument. So when you start to understand that, and you start to understand negotiable instruments, then now all of a sudden your relationship with the IRS becomes really easy, really friendly, really simple, and really quiet. In fact, it seems like once they know that you understand negotiable instruments, they pretty much just go away. They don't really want to have anything to do with you because there's no point. It's not there's once you understand.
There's no way to get something out of you.
Well, they are getting something out of you though.
Oh yeah.
When you send the bill back and you endorse it, without recourse, paid in the order of U.S. Treasury.
Now, how do they get something back? Like most people think that you got to send them a check or something like that to pay them. Why do people?
Well, I wish I had
why do they report themselves to the IRS?
Well,
and they write down all this stuff. This is how much money I owe you, and then
none of it has anything to do with money. It's all negotiable instruments, right? Federal Reserve notes are negotiable instruments. The bills they send you are negotiable instruments. Money, by definition, if you have to go back to the 1792 Coinage Act, the definition of money, the first and original definition of money in this country, and to this day it's still the basic definition. Gold coins are added later, I think in 1824 to the definition. The original definition of money in the 1792 Coinage Act, which is obviously the very beginning of our country, right, was 371.25 grains of pure silver.
Wow.
Issued by a state. So California had their own denominations of your little nickel size, your little dime size, your little whatever size. 3.71 grains is considered $1 of fine silver. Fine silver is 0.99 or above. So a dollar, in 1933, the Emergency Banking Act and the Gold Abrogation Act, they removed all the money out of the circulation, which in 1933, money did include gold coins, silver coins, right? So all that's left is negotiable instruments, which
negotiable instrument is what?
Negotiable instrument is defined in UCC Article 3, Section 104, and it's the first line, and it's two things. It's an unconditional promise to pay or an unconditional order to pay, right? But there's also some information later where sometimes you can have an instrument that's both. And basically the way that works is, if the instrument operates as an unconditional promise and order kind of at the same time, then the holder can basically operate as though it's either one, however they want. You can swing both ways. So really a negotiable instrument is two things, but it's really almost kind of one overall thing that has like two subclasses, basically, kind of. That's kind of how I look at it, right? It's an unconditional promise or order to pay, and they're a little different. Unconditional promises operate a little differently than unconditional orders, but there's not a whole lot of difference between the two. Mm. And all securities, everything on Wall Street, every motherfucking thing on Wall Street, every single thing they're trading and all the numbers and all the stock tickers and all the bullshit, everything, it's all one of those two things. Mm. Every single parking ticket is one of those two things. Every single Federal Reserve note is one of those two things. Every single promissory note you ever signed for a mortgage or for a loan or is one of those two things. Every time you use your credit card, you're producing one of those two things, or they're giving you one of those two things, or a multiple of those two things are being produced. Yeah. So everything all the time.
So they make it really complicated for people to understand this.
It's complicated.
I'm kind of going, you know.
It's complicated when you first start looking at it. But when you start to understand the definitions of the words and the basic functionality of negotiable instruments, it boils down into a really simple. It's ultimately very simple. But it took me a year of working on it every single day to get to a point where I could make it very simple.
If you think that all is lost, that every dream has faded, that the last light of hope is gone, think again. It's there within you, something that can never die.
You can live again.
The power.
Live again.
To rise. To create. To live again.
You can live again. You can live again. You can stand on your own 2 feet. You can rise up from any defeat. You can live.
Because nothing is more powerful than you.
So they were the maker/issuer of a bill. They tendered that bill to me.
Okay.
When I receive that bill, I become what's called the holder. Once you become the holder, you can endorse the instrument. An endorsement is basically just stuff that you write on the thing to prepare it for transfer. Transfer, when it comes to negotiable instruments, is called negotiation. So I'm gonna prepare the instrument for negotiation. Means I'm gonna prepare the instrument for transfer. As a holder, you're the god of the negotiable instrument, and whatever you write on it with a pen, I'm talking about just a fucking pen, the UCC 3-114 says that handwritten terms on the face of the instrument trump stamped terms, printed terms, typewritten terms. Handwritten terms are the king of anything that can be written on the face of the instrument.
So they send you a printed out thing saying you owe money or whatever, and you just you say it paid.
Well, you have to stop and look at it and say, is what I'm holding in my hand an unconditional promise or order to pay? Now, it gets a little bit more complicated when you start looking at a lot of the old case law and a lot of the old cases involving this, because if you're looking at a bill could be an order to pay, but now you got to keep in mind, there's another word there that you have to keep in mind on, it's unconditional. So you're looking at it, is there any conditions here that could make this a conditional order to pay? If there are conditions, it may not be considered an unconditional order to pay. But the thing is that you're never being sent conditional orders to pay. A conditional order to pay would be like, here's a little contract, and here's this water, and if you drink this water, you'll owe $5.
All right.
So there's a condition here. If you drink this, you'll owe the $5. So they aren't unconditionally promising me to pay, ordering me to pay. They're conditionally ordering me to pay. If I don't drink this water, the bill never activates.
So how does that relate to the IRS?
Well, the IRS isn't sending you conditional orders to pay. They're sending you unconditional orders to
That means
pay.
you have to.
Exactly. But as soon as you have to, you don't have to.
Okay.
And so the thing is that so when you receive a bill, the best kind of bill to receive is a bill that is just absolutely, completely unconditional. Like, pay this by this date or we're going to kill you, slaughter you, and feed you to pigs, and pictures of the pig are attached.
Okay, like you
That's
pay
perfect.
this or we're going to turn your electricity off. Or,
That's perfect. That's what you want. The IRS actually sends you the best type of bills. They're extremely clear, they're threatening, and they're nasty. It's the best bills you can receive because they're the most obviously unconditional.
Oh, okay.
The more unconditional they are, the more obvious that they are a negotiable instrument. So the nastier and gnarlier and more horrifying and more horrible the bill becomes, the better it is for you.
It's like backwards, upside down.
Yep.
It's like crazy. It's like
Because when they send you,
it's like a lot of the things that they say. You think it's the opposite of it, or something like
so
that.
if they sent me a bill that said, if you don't pay
I
this,
don't really know a lot about the IRS because I've never really been in the loop of that. Which is like I'm finding out through you is that's a good thing. That I've never really been reporting to them because they never have ever bothered me. And I've had people saying, well, if you don't report to the IRS, if you don't file to the IRS, they're going to come after you. And I never did. They never came after me.
because they don't say that. The IRS doesn't say that.
Yeah, but
Everyone else says that.
Everybody think that.
Yeah.
Though I don't know why they think that.
It's like a big, weird psyop thing. Because it's like the IRS has never told any of these people to do any of these things.
It's
The IRS is the boogeyman, and the IRS never even said anything.
It's like all this false data got just stuck in there.
Yeah.
And it's just like people started just parroting whatever they were told by who knows how did it start.
Who knows? Nobody even knows. It's
Yeah.
just this big mystery. So when you receive an unconditional order to pay, you become the holder.
Okay.
The holder can negotiate the instrument.
So the IRS said you owe us $4,000. Right.
The more threatening and the more nasty,
or
the
we're
better.
going to come and
Kill your
seize
family.
your bank account.
Yeah, oh yeah, right, perfect. That's what I want.
Right.
They perform instantly.
Oh.
That's the thing about the IRS. I've never had an issue.
It's just you got to know what to do.
You have to know, you have to know what they want,
Okay.
and then you have to ask and deliver what they want. They don't want Federal Reserve notes. They want negotiable instruments. Federal Reserve notes just happen to be a type of
they
negotiable
They
instrument.
can get those anytime.
They can get them from
You
you.
can sign. You can sign something on their piece of paper, and then they can take that to the window.
The bill, exactly.
You
The
get the
bill is a negotiable instrument. So if you had an IRS bill right here,
Uh-huh.
and I put these next to it, it's the same fucking thing. And that's why when you look in the Internal Revenue Manual, it says that all you have to do is just you endorse the bill,
Which means.
get prepared for transfer. It means you write the payee on it and you write the instructions. That's a whole nother. I'm not going to get into all that.
Pay to them, right?
Pay to the U.S. Treasury.
Oh,
right?
okay. And
So-
then
so-
they take that and.
So you're going to take the bill and you're going to look at the face of the bill and you're going to find out, if I write a check to this, who do I make the check out to? You're going to look on the bill, make checks out to U.S.Treasury. Great! Take the bill, pay to the order of, without recourse, U.S. Treasury by, sign there, below that, Brandon Joe Williams, agent.
And then that's the same as giving them the $4,000.
It's the same as you just converted the bill of exchange basically into a check.
Wow.
Essentially.
That's amazing, man. Well, I can see
It's
why
not.
I
It's a
can see why
draft.
a lot of people don't know.
Well, let's stop. It's not a check. It's a draft. Just to be very, very clear.
Okay.
So UCC Article 3 governs drafts, and then UCC Article 4 governs checks. It has to be a draft first before it can be a check. So it's not really, I take that back, it's not really a check, it's still a draft. It's a draft with an endorsement on it. And then you're going to take that endorsed instrument and you're going to follow what they say in the IRM. You're going to add, because what do they want in the IRM? You look at the IRM, they want authorization to take a bill of exchange, a registered bill of exchange, settle the account using FedWire. What does FedWire connect to? You just mentioned it.
Treasury?
The Federal Reserve discount window.
Federal Reserve.
So what do they want? If you translate what the IRS wants into English, they want you to become the holder of the bill, endorse the bill, and then add a cover letter which authorizes them to swap the value of the bill for Federal Reserve notes using FedWire, which is attached to the Federal Reserve discount window. That's all they want.
Wow. What do you think would happen if everybody knew this? Would they just like go under?
No, they still get paid. That's how they get paid.
So they,
When they go to the Federal Reserve discount
so
window,
everybody-
they get Federal Reserve notes.
so they get Federal Reserve notes. We get to keep the ones we have,
You got it.
and then everybody'd be winning.
Everyone's
It'd
happy.
be a
The Federal
win-win.
Reserve gets paid because they get the original bill. The IRS gets paid, and you keep your Federal Reserve notes.
Dude, it's like alternate universe. what planet are we on, man?
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like.
And what's
we're
crazy
actually-
is
it's
that-
amazing how
that-
much freedom we could actually have.
exactly. And what's
Yeah.
amazing is that is legally a payment.
Well,
If
people-
everyone knew how to actually perform and how to actually pay using a
I
bill of
see what
exchange,
you're
a registered bill of exchange, they'd actually make a lot more Federal Reserve notes. Because what about all the people who aren't paying or can't pay?
Mm.
Everyone would be able to pay right now, immediately. The whole country could pay all their outstanding tax debts today, right now, with a pen. This is all you need.
Yeah.
Every single person in the country, if they knew this, they take this, every single tax that they paid, and in fact, the IRS would be rolling in cash. Rolling in cash. It's so funny, when people start to understand this, and they start to kind of walk through the doors of understanding of this, that's always the first concern. Well, wait a second, aren't we inflating the money supply? Well, you're inflating the money supply all the time.
Oh,
You already are. So if you want to start feeling bad about the fact that you're inflating the money supply, you're going to wind up hanging yourself within a few days because you're doing it all the time. You just don't realize it.
Mm.
Everyone is inflating the money supply all the time.
In the wake of the unimaginable, in the shadow of uncertainty, in the face of fear, it's time to rediscover
We can live, we can love, we can hope, we can rise, we can be more, be more.
your hope,
We can dream, we can fly, we can change, we can ride, we can be more, be more.
your purpose,
We can live, we can love, we can hope, we can rise, we can be more,
your passion,
We can dream, we can fly, we can change, we can ride, we can be more.
your potential.
Take your name, show your mind. Raise your head, raise it high. Don't look back, reach inside. There is more to this life.
You.
Hope, rise, be more, be more. We can dream, we can fly, we can change, we can ride, be more, be more. We can be
Because no matter what we may face, nothing is stronger than the human spirit.
How come there's so much poverty and stuff like that in the world?
Because people think they have to work to get Federal Reserve notes. People think they are a U.S. citizen. So when they sign up to work, they say they're a U.S. citizen, and that gets them into the tax system. They have to work to get Federal Reserve notes. Then the government takes 30 or 40% of those Federal Reserve notes, and they're left with very little, plus they're having to deal with inflation on top of that.
Oh, and then they're under jurisdiction for punishments and all this other stuff.
So the real truth is, if you read the Dred Scott versus Sanford case from 1857, and then you read the slaughterhouse cases in 1873, you'll realize that what happened was Mr. Miller, when he gives the opinion in the slaughterhouse cases in 1873, he's very clear. Prior to the slaughterhouse cases, there was no such thing as a United States citizen. He says that right in the slaughterhouse cases.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
So the thing is that what happened in 1873 when we were coming out of the Civil War, so the Dred Scott versus Sanford case basically said that black people of African descent that were held in slavery are not actually people, literally.
Whoa.
And the Constitution, they literally say in the Dred Scott case that there's two parts of the Constitution that specifically and explicitly say that Negroes of African descent are not part of the Constitution and can't be citizens. So what happened was is we were coming up on the Civil War, and it was starting to get kind of bad. And then the Dred Scott versus Sanford case accelerated a lot of that upset. And then we go into the Civil War. And then after the Civil War, we were coming out of the Civil War, and the 13th Amendment released the slaves. And then Mr. Miller is very clear in the slaughterhouse cases. The 14th Amendment was created specifically to give the released slaves citizenship.